Hello story lovers. Welcome to Stories by Attractor. Today we humane a thrilling story at The Unwanted Bride. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories. The rain wouldn't stop that evening. It beat softly on the windows of the big Winters house. Inside, a young woman named Elara Winters sat close to the fire. She was 19, quiet, and kind-hearted. Her eyes were grey like morning fog, and around her neck hung a small silver locket, the last thing her mother gave her before she died. Elara's life changed after her father remarried. Her stepmother, Lady Beatrice, was beautiful but cruel, and her daughter, Celine, was proud and spoiled. Elara became the servant of the house, washing clothes, cooking, cleaning, while her stepmother and stepsister lived like queens. One cold afternoon, a letter arrived. It came from a man called Lord Damien Ashcroft, the Duke of Waverley, one of the richest men in the country. He wanted a wife. People said terrible things about him. They said he was a monster, that he had a scar on his face and a heart full of anger. Some even said his first wife died mysteriously. Still, Lady Beatrice's eyes shone with greed. If her daughter Celine married the Duke, their family would rise in power. But when the letter was opened, it said clearly, "I request the eldest daughter of the Winters family." Lady Beatrice froze. That meant Elara, not Celine. Celine gasped. "Mother, no. He can't marry her." Beatrice smiled a cold smile. "He will never know the difference. Let her go in your place." Elara was shocked but stayed calm. "If that's what you wish, stepmother," she said softly. And so, the decision was made. Elara, not Celine, would be sent to marry the feared Duke. 3 days later, Elara's carriage rolled through thick fog toward a dark, lonely mansion called Ravenshade Hall. The house looked alive, tall, cold, and covered in climbing ivy. Its windows glowed faintly like eyes in the dark. When she stepped out, the servants bowed but said nothing. Then she saw him, Lord Damien. He was tall, strong, and had deep grey eyes. A long scar ran down his face, but his look wasn't cruel, just distant, like someone who had been hurt too deeply. He looked at her for a long time before saying, "You are not the one I expected." Elara lowered her head. "Your Grace, the letter said you wanted the eldest daughter." He gave a short laugh. "So they tricked me, but perhaps they did me a favor." Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. The next day, they were married quietly in the mansion's chapel. There was no music, no guests, only thunder outside. Elara became Lady Elara Ashcroft, the wife of the so-called monster. At first, the days were long and cold. Damien barely spoke to her. He spent most of his time in the library or walking alone in the garden. The servants seemed afraid of him. At night, strange sounds echoed in the halls, footsteps, whispers, even soft cries. Once, an old maid named Mrs. Whitlock whispered to Elara, "My lady, don't go wandering at night. Some doors in this house should stay closed." Elara obeyed, but her curiosity grew stronger. The rose garden. One morning, while walking around the estate, Elara found a locked iron gate covered in roses, but the roses were all withered and black. Later, she saw Damien standing there, his face filled with sadness. "You love this place," she said quietly. He turned sharply. "You shouldn't be here." "Then why do you come here?" she asked. He looked at the dying roses. "This was my wife's garden." Elara's heart softened. "I'm sorry." He nodded and walked away. From that day, she began to understand his anger wasn't hatred, it was grief. As time passed, Elara began to see the truth about Damien. He wasn't a monster. He was a man hiding his pain. He limped when he thought no one was watching. He read poetry in secret. He left food for stray cats at the back door. He even covered sleeping servants with blankets. One night, Elara asked softly, "Why does everyone fear you, my lord?" He smiled sadly. "Because I let them. It's easier to be called a monster than to explain my scars." Then he looked at her, his eyes softer now. "But you see me differently, don't you?" Elara blushed. "Yes. I think I do." One afternoon, a letter came from the Winters estate. It was from Celine. "Dearest sister," it read, "I hear your husband is cruel, But at least he's rich. Mother says you've finally done something useful for once. Enjoy your new life. Ilara folded the letter, her chest tight. When Damien found her crying, he asked gently, "Are those the people who sent you away?" She nodded. "Then they don't deserve your tears," he said quietly. "You're stronger than they will ever be." It was the first time his voice carried warmth. One night, Ilara woke to the sound of soft piano music. She followed it through the hall and found a door slightly open. Inside, Damien was playing the piano beautifully. He stopped when he saw her. "You weren't supposed to see this." "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Why hide it?" He looked down at the keys. "Because everything I love seems to die." She stepped closer. "Then maybe you just need someone to help you love again." He stared at her, as if hearing words he had waited for all his life. That winter, a fire broke out in one of the mansion's wings. The flames spread fast, and everyone panicked. Ilara ran into the smoke to save Mrs. Whitlock, who was trapped under a burning beam. She managed to pull her out, coughing and weak. Damien found her in the flames, lifted her in his arms, and carried her outside. That night, he sat by her bedside until she woke. "You could have died," he said softly. "So could you," she whispered, smiling faintly. He took her hand. "I once lost someone to fire. My first wife. I swore never to love again." Ilara squeezed his hand gently. "Then maybe I was sent to show you that love can survive fire." Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he didn't hide them. As weeks passed, the house grew brighter. Damien smiled more. He laughed. He fixed broken parts of the mansion. One morning, he took Ilara to the garden. The old gate was open, and inside rows of new white roses were blooming. "You said beauty should live," he said quietly. "So I made it live again, for you." Ilara's eyes filled with tears. She hugged him tightly, and he held her as if she was the only light left in his world. Months later, Lady Beatrice and Celine came to visit, expecting to find Ilara miserable. But what they saw shocked them. The mansion was bright, full of laughter. Ilara was dressed like a queen, her face glowing with joy. Damien stood beside her, smiling proudly. Celine stammered, "You're happy?" Ilara smiled. "Very happy." Damien looked at them firmly. "You sent me the wrong daughter. But you gave me the right woman." Lady Beatrice turned pale. They left the mansion in silence and never came back. Years passed peacefully. The mansion, once dark and lonely, became full of warmth. Every spring, white roses filled the garden. Damien and Ilara spent evenings playing the piano together, their laughter echoing through the halls. The people in town stopped calling him a monster. They said, "The Duke isn't a beast anymore. His wife taught him to love again." In her old age, Ilara wrote in her diary, "A monster is only a man who has forgotten what love feels like. I met one and I reminded him." And beside that note, she placed a single white rose from the garden they built together. And that rose never withered. The end.